Welcome to Archean Coding. This is part 2 of the ground vehicle coding series, and I'm sure by now you're tired of going straight in a straight line back and forth. So in this video we're going to add steering and auto braking when you leave the seat. So let's go ahead and demonstrate a little bit, and I have turned off the smooth control for the purpose of this video. And if we back up a little bit, and if we steer, so I also put in rear steering if the speed is below 20. And so if it's above 20, then only the front will steer. Whether that's a good feature or a bad feature, I'll let you decide that. I just added it as to demonstrate the coding technique of conditionally enabling rear steering. So we just go forward now and you can steer. Now I'm holding down W a little bit while I'm hitting the D key right now, so this is probably a bit easier with a controller or joystick or any other device. Now I'm going to leave the vehicle. That's interesting. So popped out of the vehicle and the brakes automatically engaged. You see our brakes are enabled. I put that in there because I would it would be going and I almost stop and it starts creeping along, really slow, and I want to jump out, and voila, the brakes enabled. All right, so that's pretty simple features, but quite useful. Let's go look at the code. Now, I'm not going over all the code I wrote. I marked sections that are new, so we just focused on those. All the helpers are the same. The debug helper, I just added additional left, right, and these all kind of shifted down. So don't really worry about this too much. So I added a user configuration to set the rear wheel steer max speed. So it can go as high as 20 before it will disengage, and that's new code. I now pull the get using from the pilot seat to see if you're sitting or not. So effectively, if it's 0, you're not sitting. If it's non-zero, you are sitting. It's very important to check for non-zero. It is not a 1 value. It could be 1 or it could be a token. And I'm not going to talk about tokens in this video. We now acquire the left-right input from the pilot seat here. And then in this case, if we're not seated, if the seated is 0, we just clamp the brake on, no matter what the input is. This is getting a little more complicated, so there's a better way to structure this, but I'm leaving it like this just to keep it simple. And then this all stayed the same. A new section here is apply steering. So all this code right here changed. I don't want to get too crazy with the new codes. So we output the steering value directly into the front wheel. So F is front. And then if the speed is below max speed, then set steer is negative steer because we're doing in the opposite direction, the front. If it's above, we have 0. So this is a tri-conditional, if you haven't seen those before. And then we just set the rear wheels. And these are these name values. Or wheel, this is the default I have. So everything's named, so I can now just do the front wheels by themselves or the rear wheels by themselves. Back to main. And this updated because I had to add additional charge. Tilt. I guess I was going to add a field here, but I did not actually add a field here. I added the code directly in the helper function. Okay. So that's really all the changes. Once again, I will put this on the workshop with the same name, except it'll have part 2 instead of part 1. You want to yank the code out of it or play around. Now, one thing I did not cover in part 1 is there's a reverse setting here. Look at the direction of the treads here. Now, if I flip this on, notice how they change. And the reason for this, so this one is actually reversed, because they have a 180 degree change between the wheels. And what happens if I send the same value to both wheels, and I do not have this set, you will start spinning in circles. By having this set, then it will go same direction. One hint is look at the tread. So basically, if the tread pointing that way, a positive value will go in that direction. Also, in the previous video, I did not have the wheels connected to the power supply, and discovered that obviously they will not turn without power. So I plugged them in just so the steering function works. I don't actually send any drive power. It's still not a 4-wheel drive vehicle at this point. It's still a 2-wheel drive, and that's pretty simple change to make. I'm not going to actually do it, but if you want to go to 4-wheel drive, here when I set these values now, we'll just, all we got to do is change this to wheel. Same as the braking here. So if I change that like that and remove this line, and then we'll go ahead and we'll set the acceleration for all 4 wheels at one time. If we just want to do the rear wheels, I could have done that instead of doing it twice here. But we'll leave the code here for now, and it's very explicit, but I'm just saying with this logic, you could just reduce this to one line with all 4 wheels if you like. I'll leave that up to yourself to change. All right, so now we have steering enabled. And if you can, and this will work with, and on the Xbox controller, it is the left toggle. Moving it left and right will control steering. So you can do proportional steering and acceleration a bit easier with the controller. But it does work. Right now I'm using a keyboard, so that does function just fine. All right, that's all for part 2. Until next time, see ya.